Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Big Idea. I'm your host, Jason Seymour. I'm the U.S. spokesperson for the mission to ASEAN. The U.S. mission to ASEAN started this show because we know that many Southeast Asian leaders, like yourself, have big ideas, and they want to turn those big ideas into a reality. And we have a very special guest today who has done just that. She's from Malaysia, and her name is Maroline Fauvius. Welcome, Maroline. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
I'm so glad you're here with us today. We have so much to get to, so much to talk about, so many different topics. But
exactly, the flow, as we say it, yeah.
Yes. And we're going to try to get to as many as we can. And I've decided what I really want to get started talking to you about is the very special US government program that you went on, which was a YSEALI Academic Fellowship. For those in the audience who don't know, YSEALI is the Young Southeast Asian Leadership Initiative. And we'll put some more information in the description below if you want to learn about more YSEALI. But today we're going to learn about this academic fellowship. And you got to go to a very exciting part of the United States, Georgia. So please tell us a little bit about this fellowship program.
Okay, so I went in 2017. That would make it about 4 years back. And the program that I was selected to was a civic engagement theme. If you would read further later on about YSEALI, there are several themes that one will be selected on. And the university that I was attached with another friend of mine from Penang, was Kennesaw State University. And the theme that they had for us was on the civil rights movements and how it integrates with civic engagements, especially in the southern area. That's why the university, I guess, chose that. And, the experience encompasses of lecture classes. Some of us were able to do some presentation for the local students as well about global citizenship. That was nice. And we had classes of that with the local students, the Americans as well. And then we have classes, lectures like peace studies, social entrepreneurship, and then what we call this, a lot of role-playing sessions. Yeah, we are given issues, groupings, and then we try to solve these case studies. And then we jump from one state to the other to learn about all the different civil rights movement that comes with that state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would assume that when you're referring to the civil rights, we're probably talking about the 1950s, 1960s, when the civil rights movement was so robust and there was so much passion throughout the South, including Georgia, which was primarily fighting to advance the civil rights of the American community of African descent. Would you say that's accurate?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And there's so much to learn from what happened during that movement, which can inspire leaders such as yourself to go back to the home country and think about how can we make change in our own country? What are some of the insights that you gained from this program about civil rights that we could all learn from?
I think the most impactful, all of it is impactful, but the one that if I could highlight over and over again is our experience in Alabama. We get to reflect as we cross across the Selma Bridge, where Bloody Sunday, I think, occurred. And then the experience of a short experience, a simulation on the sit-in counter. Yeah, you get to sit at the Museum of International Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta. You get to sit in and experience what it was like back then when they had these very peaceful protests. They came into the cafe, sit down, and not react while people around whispers all these threats, spit on them, throw coffee. So I could only, in a sense that they are sending out a really important message does not have to equal to aggressiveness, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You highlight what is your action representing, why are you doing what you're doing in the name of protest, yet the action brings a lot of impact when you bring out the darkness in other people who you're protesting against, instead of you who is actually, you know, trying to convey a message without aggressiveness. So the largest takeaway during my experience, you know, in that civil rights exposure was to strategically plan the message that you want to highlight or emphasize in the issues that you're bringing. So it doesn't necessarily have to resort to any aggressiveness, but it should be something well thought of, and I would say with eloquence, yeah. And then you empower your people to convey a message clearly instead of following too much on the emotions, and be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, persevere, be patient.
There was so much depth in everything you just said, so many good tips. And you ended with a great one, be patient. Every movement takes time. It takes time. It's not, you're not going to change the world in a day. You're not going to change your city. You're not going to change a law. You have to be in it for the long term. Decide where your passion is. You said that as well. Absolutely true. And one thing that I know from talking to my own relatives who were old enough to be aware of what was going on in the 1950s, 1960s, they would see images on television of people peacefully protesting, peacefully making movements, and it warmed hearts all over the United States. Whereas if you act in anger, if you act violently, the response is anger. If you act peacefully, the response is compassion, love. How can we work together to fix this problem? So I was very moved by everything that you just said. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And so you're from Malaysia, and while you were in this program, you must have been thinking about societal problems, complexities in your own country. Every country has them. Definitely. What were some of the problems you were thinking about in Malaysia? You said that you need to find your message, you need to find your passion. What was going on in your mind thinking about Malaysia while you were in that program?
I think, you know, there are a lot of issues to choose from, yeah? But then at the end of the day, you have to choose your fight. What matters to you, the ground that, you know, you would persevere and put efforts in. And in my case, during that program, and I suppose until today, it was always about the peace, what do you call it? It's about peace. There's a word for it, but I kind of forgot about it. But it's about the peace that, yes, there's no wars in our country, thankfully for that. However, there is this fabricated peace, I would say, yes, that word, fabricated peace, because there are still, you know, a racial, religious tension, even in the 21st century, that we're looking at bigotry, all these things that are there. And when I was in the program, I'm always trying to dig deeper. Like, yes, within my capacity, it's not that huge, but what can I do? And where can I look at? And then within my capacity as a youth, it begins in the grassroots then, the young people, how they are educated, what are they exposed to, you know, are these issues or values being integrated in them in the younger age. So it's mostly about the programming of your minds and the knowledge that you obtain in a certain age. So that's my driving factor, you know, during the program and until today. It's always the younger generations. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, to our audience, I'm enjoying asking questions. If you've seen other episodes of our show, you know I'm just full of questions, but I do want to encourage the audience, if you have a question for Maroline, please write it in the comments section, and I will share anything that you ask with Maroline. So please share your comments, share your questions. So I don't know that much about Malaysia. So what are some of the, when we talk about marginalized communities or levels of discrimination and prejudice, give the audience a little bit of a sense of the different groups in Malaysia and some of the challenges that marginalized communities face in Malaysia.
Yes, so the topic that I covered, I work closely with indigenous communities because I am from Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. It's in the east of Malaysia, on the Borneans Island. So Sabah and Sarawak is located there, and the land there for a state is pretty massive as compared to the land in the peninsula. So the outreach to interiors are still underdeveloped, and there are a lot of, let's say, communities that do not have basic access of clean water, electricity. And of course, it takes a lot for the government to reach to these places, because I've been to these places, and if I can't give a figure, but just out of my head, the cost to even make a road from the main highway to that village, and then to create the power pole stations or the transmission lines to cross the mini transmission line to cross into that village is really, really high. And probably they have other allocations that are prioritized in these cases. So in my context, to my knowledge also, the marginalized communities encompasses those indigenous people that I work directly with. But of course, there are a lot more, like we have refugees issues here also. And then we have the women in organizations. So a lot, education, quality education, I mean. So all of these are interconnected, but the ones that I work with are mostly of the indigenous people in Sabah, and also recently I reached out to those in Peninsula. So the scene is that in that way, as a, let's say, Malaysia is a developing country, and if you see the gaps that we have in the main city, and also what we have in the interior where basic needs are barely existing, there's something wrong. The gaps is too far in this sense.
I love the nuance you gave to that, because sometimes it's a simple issue of prejudice, but not always. There's always layers of complexities to these things. And sometimes it's about resources and people being remote, and it's difficult to help them. These are very complex issues, and it takes time to really research the issue and figure out what is really going on. Now, I want to pause for a moment because we have a couple wonderful questions, this time from Skylar, and I hope I'm saying this correctly. Skylar is from Damansara. She can help us. I'm not sure if that's from Malaysia, another country. Let us know, Skylar.
It seems so.
But her first question is, she wonders if you have any advice for the many, many people who apply for this YSEALI Academic Fellowship, and they come close, they're finalists, or they don't make it. What do you think helped you to be selected? What tips do you have for applicants?
Oh, cool. That's a good question. Well, okay, in the first place, you have to confront yourself. Why are you applying? That's the most important question at the end of the day. Don't go for it just because you have a skill in writing an essay or because you can speak to the public. But you have to sit down and ask yourself, why are you applying? And of course, there are different themes and niche to this YSEALI program. The environmental, civic engagement, and social entrepreneurship. So you have to dig deeper. Why are you applying? And go from there. And then reflect it in what do you want to do? Imagine you actually got it. What do you want to do when you get accepted? What knowledge do you want to bring back to your country or your community? So having the skills to write or the experiences in leadership roles in your university is, let's say, and additional accessories. But the most important essence that I think they will notice, they will know when they read your essay is why are you applying and what are you going to do with it, about it, when you actually get selected.
That's a really good tip. I don't know Skylar, I haven't read her application, so this isn't about Skylar, but for some programs, I've read applications and it was clear the person just wanted a trip to the United States.
True, exactly. You see through that, definitely.
People such as yourself who really have a passion and want to make a difference and can convey that in the application. So very, very good advice. So I want to switch a little bit because I was ready to ask and Skylar wants to know too. You developed this initiative called Little Feet. So please tell our audience about Little Feet. And I know you developed it with someone else, not just you, but tell us about Little Feet.
Great. I was looking forward to talking about it a little. But anyway, yes. So after post YSEALI Academic Fellows, there was a program organized that's called YSEALI Borneo Eco Warriors. And since it was going to be launched in where I was from, Kota Kinabalu, I thought of applying to it. And in that program, it focuses a lot on the environment and mostly on ocean conservation knowledge. And when I joined that program, one of the requirements is post-program, you have to organize something with the fundings that they will be, providing us with. And I was very blessed and lucky enough to be grouped with my co-founder. His name is Elias. And in that group, it's not only the both of us, there were 4 of us, and everybody has really a lot to give into our post-program planning. But towards the end in the organization, it's just like a banana 1 and banana 2. Elias and I had just had the same, let's say, path that we're walking on, and we really want to bring this post-program further. We don't want it to end just after the Borneo Eco Warriors camp, yeah? So we decided that, okay, we named this group Little Feet Initiative because we want to be, a bit tacky, because Little Feet signifies, young generation, young leaders. So Little Feet. Initiative, young people initiative, that's about it. And then the first program that we came up with was Friends of Rivers and Oceans. So it relates to the program that we joined before, ocean and water conservation. And what we looked at is most of the, let's say, rubbish comes from the river. And coming from one of the villages in Sabah, what we don't realize is every time the flood rises, there's flood, the villagers will just throw all these rubbishes to the river to clear off their dumpster. So at the end of the day, these will be brought, indirectly towards the ocean. So we were thinking that, okay, Friends of Rivers and Oceans begin in a campsite and by the river, and then we make our way down with all these volunteerings to the ocean. So Little Feet started there, and then afterwards we felt we want to continue. We really want to have this. We don't call ourselves an NGO because we are just really excited to get a group of young people who actually want to contribute to the community without all these complications. Sometimes you have to pay to be members of something, but in this case, you just come. You have the spirit, you have the time, you join us. And then it grew. We have FROG, which is Friends of Rivers and Oceans 2.0 again. And then another one, because Elias, my partner, my co-founder, his niche was environment. Yeah. So that's why we touched on it. But at the same time, both of us have the heart for the community as well. So to guide our efforts, we referred to the sustainable goals, United Nations sustainable goals, and took goal number 19, responsible consumption and production, as a reference to conduct this next Young Green Generation program. Now, the Friends of Rivers were for high school students, and the Young Green Generation were for those in the university and beyond. And then we had camps as well. So this one involves, young people around Malaysia coming down to Sabah, where we are from, to stay 6 days, 1 night in the program. And we had great support from CFOL Atlanta, UNITAR, as our virtual speaker and whatnot. So it grew from there, and we really wanted to make an occurring program yearly. We prepared very, structured module with the Friends of Rivers and Ocean Camp. We had a support from a university, and the Young Green Generation, we had support from the sponsors and also UNITAR at that time to further develop our programs. So the intention was to begin that in 2020. But with the pandemic and whatnot, we decided, okay, let's put it on a pause. We don't want to make rash decision and jump online and do these things. No, we want it to be proper, so we put it on a pause. And then last but not least, our launch with Little Fit was during Unified in 2018 to talk about mental health awareness. We call it Tender Minds. So we had an expressive art workshop. It was a rotational of journaling. So they have sessions of writing, drawing and coloring, and then movements. So it was conducted 1 full day with the American Corner in Kota Kinabalu. And it was really, really amazing because we have a variety of young people joining us, those 18 and above, and we have adults joining us as well. And then we also have disabled persons joining us. So it was such an amazing outreach. So yeah, Little Fit encompasses of communities and environment.
I'm so proud that you were thinking about diversity and made your events accessible for the disabled. That's an excellent additional point. I have a couple follow-ups. First, I just have to say there's a thunderstorm coming where I am here. And every time I see someone litter, I think, you are aware that it's going to rain. Mm-hmm. People think, oh, it'll just wash away. I don't have to think about it anymore. Well, that litter, that trash is going to end up in our waterways. So yes, we all can play a part, whether it's a small thing or a big thing. The other thing I was thinking about when you mentioned your partner, Elias, is that you were talking earlier about the civil rights movement. And yes, I know that most people are aware of Martin Luther King and in that era, and he visited Georgia, Alabama many times. He didn't do things by himself. No. There were lots of people helping him. He was the most well-known, but if you want to accomplish things, very difficult to accomplish anything by yourself. You need partners, you have to work with people. And I just want to give a little plug to our YSEALI network. We, the US Mission, ASEAN, and YSEALI, we want to help you if you have a passion. We can help you find mentors. We can help you find other people that are passionate about the same cause. So please reach out to the mission, join our network, because we want to help lots of leaders to find other leaders. So there is this element, Tender Minds, which has mental health component. And I know you are very passionate about helping people with mental health challenges. So please tell us a little more. What kind of mental health challenges have you discovered in Malaysia? How are you helping people through these challenges? Give us a sense of what you have been working on in this field.
Okay, I wouldn't say the approach was direct and intentional entirely, but then it has always been my passion to learn about the strengths of a human. How far can we push our minds? And most of us, if not all, we forget. Sometimes we forget that we do have controls of elements in our lives. And some of us are blessed with extra mental capacity to empathize more than others, even though we're going through some other pains, personal pains on our own or pressures. But in our mind, we still have that space to empathize. And I feel that those with that space are really powerful in their, let's say, small or large communities. And in my case, the ones that I realize what's indirectly affecting most of those that's around me is the fact that they are overwhelmed with the information they're getting online. So it's easy to say that, oh, social media is a toxic platform. I beg to differ, because social media is a platform that's dormant, that does nothing. And the one that feeds it is ourselves. And at the end of the day, who analyze it is ourselves. So we forget, because it's easy to slowly scroll through and see all the amazing inputs. And it's easy to find in ourselves what we're lacking. And I'm guilty of that once in a while, obviously. But at the same time, we have to snap out. Like we're hypnotized unrealizingly, you know? So we have to snap out. And indirectly in my conversations, hangouts with my friends, it's so natural in myself to jump into a conversation, reminding each other and those that I hang out with that we have the say in what we consume. There are a lot of fights out there that we should stand up for, you know, and advocate for. But at the end of the day, are all of those fights ours to fight, you know? So an essence of the things that if we talk about mental health is sometimes we just need someone with authentic listening skills, authentic empathy, to be there at its purest form, to be the, I don't know, profound voice of familiar comfort. Yeah.
Stealing your line, I loved your line. We have a say in what we consume. That's just such a good line. Because what you were saying, you go online, at any moment, you can look at things that will darken your soul, that will make you depressed, that will inspire you to concentrate on what you don't have or what you wish you looked like, or all those things. Or you can look at sites that are more inspirational, that have positive messages. You can mingle with your friends who are supportive online. We always have a choice. And you're trying to provide a space that is positive, that is helpful to people, that give them profound messages that will inspire. And I'm inspired by your efforts. So do you have people who volunteer for Little Feet and work with you to communicate with people, or is it just you and Alias?
No, we do have volunteers, and these volunteers are, you know, people that are close to us, our close friends, our siblings who are, you know, in the age group that could speak for our programs. And remember when we had this first time Friends of Rivers and Oceans camp? So I had most of my close circle of friends and their connections to join us as volunteers. And during the execution, I fell ill really, really bad. And then there was only Elias and the team to organize it. So basically during the pre-preparation, it was just Elias and I. We had all the modules prepared, all the accommodation logistics arranged. We just need our team to be there on the day of execution and preparation afterwards. Later on. So during the session, I was gone. One leg was gone, right? And Elias was there, but the whole team just picked up from, you know, what we had as a structure, and they helped us execute everything. And then it is the same with the next one, the Friends of Rivers and Ocean 2, Tender Minds, and also the Young Green Generation. So yes, Elias and I plan things, but to execute it, we have our friends and volunteers.
That's exactly what I was saying. We never do things alone. The more people with us, the more success we can have. And so I encourage people, if you're if you're living in Malaysia and you want to help out this wonderful group, contact them. We'll have more information about the group in the description below, because it sounds like they're open to volunteers and open to more help.
Always.
So let's go back to Georgia for a moment. When you were in Georgia, you mentioned one of the fun things that you did. You got to see where the sit-ins happened with the lunch counter. What is something else you really enjoyed about your time in the United States? A really fun memory.
Okay, it would be the discussion that and let's say team building that we had among the ASEANs. Yeah, it's I always see things I zoom out and look at things. So in the moment when you have I think there were 22 of us from 9 ASEAN countries, and all of us were first timers in the United States, and everything was new. So everybody was practically on the same level, just different backgrounds. And you see how as diverse and different we are from each ASEAN countries, we're just the same when we reach the United States. It's very rare for us to be very engaged in the classrooms. And when we have these discussions, we share about discussions and also role playing. We share about the issues back home, and it's not far at all. It's interconnected. And at the end of the day, we enjoyed the American culture. So we went to Waffle House. We get to see the Southern cowboy dance. We experienced those cultures as well, apart from the serious stuff. Cowboy dance, this 2-step dance, we did that Waffle House. And then it was really nice of the States to take us in the bus to there's an outlet mall. So all the ASEAN were I don't know, speechless or overexcited to be at the outlet mall, but it's some little things we try to experience in the United States in our time there, not only learning about the issues and how we can integrate and learn it back to our countries, but also the social environment.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So let's say in 2022, you could go to the United States for a return trip. What city would you want to visit?
I want to go back to school in the United States. I can't believe I'm saying this here, but city, I would say where MIT is. Where is it again?
Boston.
Yes, Boston. Yes.
Wonderful city. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Is there, and this is a very broad question, is there someone from the United States who is a role model for you? Could be a politician, a singer, actor, author, any American who you think of as a role model?
Not much on the politician,
Okay.
but I really looked up to Barack Obama, of course. However, I love the eloquence of Oprah Winfrey. And how she brought herself to a significant position on the way that she speaks and intently listen and navigates people from different backgrounds, from the most significant background to somebody her team and herself found around making changes and bringing them into the TV and sharing it with the world. It's her.
Definitely.
Yes,
Definitely.
It's not just a talk show. No.
Yeah, she's very passionate and she focuses a lot on the mental health of her audience, and she brings guests who have powerful, inspirational messages about how to be good to oneself and good to others. So
exactly.
That's a great role model. So let's say in 2022, I'm able to visit Malaysia. I'm able to see you in Malaysia, and I get the wonderful opportunity to meet you. What's someplace that I should see when I'm visiting Malaysia?
Well, it depends on where you will end up in, whether you're just going to the peninsula or are you coming down to the east of Sabah. I mean, in Sabah. So if it's in a peninsula, I will give you like a template, a standard template. You go to the Batu Caves, and then you have to visit the foods in Penang. The foods are really, really good. Even as a Sabahan, we do have great foods. But when I was in Penang, it's different. I would say in general, try the foods. And I'm not sure if you've tried durian before. So Westerners have to have a try on that first, you know. Okay, you can skip that now. Yes, mostly food areas, and in the peninsula, I couldn't quite grasp where, but then in Sabah, then I would say go through the mountains, Ranau area where the tallest mountains in Southeast Asia is the Mount Kinabalu. You don't have to climb it, you just be at the bottom. It's really, really nice. It's mostly nature based, and then later on you go and watch the sunset. That is compulsory in Sabah.
Little sunset you had behind you.
Yes, this is from home.
I've climbed up mountains before. I could do it if I have the time. So
yes,
sounds like there's a
then
lot
you
of
should.
natural. Because most people, when they mention Malaysia, they talk about Kuala Lumpur and the wonderful modern city. But
Yeah.
Malaysia has many treats, many different places to visit.
A lot. We even have another impressive cave in Sarawak, Gua Nia, most tourist attraction place. That's one place to visit as well. Yep.
So since you're so passionate about mental health and we're coming to the end of the interview, if anyone happens to be watching this show and they're dealing with depression or they're dealing with very, very serious mental health issues, what advice would you offer to them?
I would say if you start to realize that something is already wrong, you feel unwell emotionally or mentally, that is the first step already of acceptance, because you realize that something's not right within you. So that is already the first step. So applause to yourself for even realizing that in the first place. Yeah. And then when you have, because I know there are times where you have more energy than other days, and take advantage of those great days, I would say, and extra energetic days, to accept where you are. It's always the acceptance that's really hard, to accept that you are feeling what you're feeling and you are where you are. When you have that extra energy, go for acceptance. And I know people will say, seek professional help. Yes. However, don't rush to it, because sometimes you just forget that you have it in you to get out from this all-time low, I would say, and you forget that, oh, I actually have close friends around me, I need a new perspective, I need to be told off, let me call them up, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, when you feel that it's destructing, then when during your energetic days again, find where and what would make you comfortable to reach out to professionals. But at the end of the day, I think every one of us has to be reminded that we do have the strength and power to try on our own first. Because in the beginning, for you to just realize that something doesn't feel right, that is one step already. That is a huge leap, because you have that realization. Now you go for acceptance, and then afterwards, and you do these things when you have that extra energy in your days. So always know that, things out there, you can control certain issues or points,
That was very powerful. Keep up the fights, keep up the struggle, and keep living. And there are causes to fight for. Fight for yourself, find your passion, find where you can contribute to yourself, to your community. There's so much to be had in this life. So keep at it. Well, unfortunately, boy, this conversation just flew
Was
by.
fast?
I had such a wonderful time talking to you. You inspired me. I'm sure you inspired our audience. Keep up the good work on your environmental issues, on mental health issues. I'm excited to see where you end up next. And we're going to have to wrap up the show. So
thank you very much.
My pleasure, and the pleasure of the audience, I'm sure. And thank you so much to our audience for tuning in for another episode of The Big Idea. Until the next time, take care, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.